So as you already heard, I'm Peter, and I'd like to start off by saying that I'm so honored to be here. For the past 2 days, I just got to meet most of you, and I'm just so humbled, and I love talking to you. But the reason that I'm up here right now is that I'd like to promote awareness of the Chrome developer tools and how you can leverage that power to troubleshoot and debug your NativeScript applications. So the only thing on the menu today is I'm going to debug a NativeScript application with Chrome DevTools. And the way I'm going to do that is by first showing you how you can pause during code execution. By doing that, you can effectively inspect JavaScript code state and follow the control flow of your code. And finally, I'm going to show you some of my favorite shortcuts and how you can easily navigate inside Chrome DevTools. But before we jump into the troubleshooting process, how many of you have done any sorts of development outside of JavaScript? Okay, that's a couple. So then you know that any major language like C# or Android or Java, they've got these robust IDEs with fantastic built-in tooling, and you can debug quite easily, right? But if you've done JavaScript, well, what do you have? You've got console.log, and most of us have been using that for a long time. And we can all agree that console.log works. It also works in NativeScript, but the feedback loop over there is a bit longer than in a normal JavaScript application. Because when you save the changes, the application needs to be taken down, the code changes pushed to the device, and then the application refreshed. And you don't want that. I mean, God forbid, you might have to navigate deeper into your navigation stack so that you can read that console log and then again restart the application, right? So today I'm going to show you Chrome developer tools. They effectively allow you to pause during code execution using several techniques and features of Chrome DevTools. And the way I'm going to demonstrate that is I prepared a simple conference application, which is a bit broken at the moment. It's got, I just couldn't fix it to the last moment. I suppose that's the reason that I got late. Anyway, it's supposed to have a home screen that should show the countdown leading up to the next NativeScript event. It's also got a session screen, a sessions details page, and a Twitter feed. At the end of this session, I want to get to this stage of the application where I can see the countdown, the session details, as well as the Twitter feed without the mock data, but actually real tweets coming from the Twitter servers. So this is what the home screen should look like. The session details, well, Todd is not a session detail, that's a speaker detail, but that's another matter. And also the Twitter feed. So without further ado, I'd like to hop into demonstrating, and I'm praying to the demo gods that nothing will go wrong. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to run the application on my device, but fear not. I think if everything performs according to plan, we should be seeing the device screen mirrored like this. Okay, great. So I'm going to open my terminal and execute tns debug Android inside my application folder. What that's going to do is build the app and then output a URL that I should drop into Chrome to start debugging my app. And in just a couple of more seconds, I'm gonna get there. Okay, application's firing up. And great. You can already see that the NA is showing, and I don't know why that is. So I'm going to copy this URL. Okay, I suppose I stopped the process instead. So I'm going to fire up the debugger once again. It's going to take a couple more seconds, but that's fine. Just enough to allow me to come to Chrome and input my URL. Press enter. Okay, what's going on? Application's restarting, that's why. Oh, okay. So I can reconnect now. And there we have it. This is a standard Chrome DevTools view. What we're looking at right now is the sources panel. You can inspect whatever sources you have in your application, like the XMLs, the CSS files, any other files that you may have in your app, as well as images, just like this one. But what we're interested in right now is the files. This file tree over here. And I'd like to open my home page so that I can see potentially how I can fix the issue that I have. And the home view model is effectively an observable class, and upon navigating to this page, I instantiate an Android countdown timer class, which calls a callback each second, this onTick method, and should be updating a property bound to my observable class. But something's not working properly, and I'd like to see why that could be. As I mentioned earlier, I could pause during code execution, and if my assumptions are correct, this onTick method right here that I highlighted should be getting code continuously. So I could either place a breakpoint inside my code to the left in the gutter by clicking, and it's already broken, which is fantastic. But if I'm not certain if my code is executing anything at all, I can instead press F8 to pause program execution, or click the pause button on the right-hand side. And if I do that, on the next JavaScript call, my code will break precisely where it's executing. And while I'm inside this method, I could do several things. I could step over the next function call, which will execute the instructions without stepping inside any functions that are being called. But I'd like to pause again and instead step into the function that is called and see whether this countdown property of the home view model class is being updated. And I can see that the method receives some kind of input, and this countdown property has been updated previously. It says 368 days and some hours left leading up to the next conference. Well, if I can see that the countdown property is updated, why don't I see it reflected on my app? Do you have any ideas how I could address that? No? Okay. But it hit me that I'm not using NativeScript properly. It's a rookie mistake, I know, but bear with me. This countdown being a property of an observable class, I should be updating it in a different way. So after a quick peek inside the NativeScript documentation, I figured out that I should be calling the set method of the observable class instead. So I could do this set countdown of milliseconds to readable time, whatever. And if I do that, I'm hoping that my application will now update properly. However, just typing this code inside Chrome DevTools will not suffice, because this is a TypeScript file, and even if I saved it, see the star up here is gone on the tab. Even if I update the file, nothing will happen because it needs to transpile first. So instead, I'll hop real quick inside my text editor of choice and drop the modification that I just made, delete the previous code, and save the file. Right now, the TNS CLI should be making changes to my app already. Okay, applications down, applications up. And there I have it. My timer is being updated already, and I managed to find my mistake, all thanks to Chrome DevTools. So that's one screen down. That's one screen down. And I'd like to see what I can do about the session details right now. Okay, I think I'm fetching the results, and this might take a second or two. And while it's getting fetched, I could open the session details. But I'm not seeing the session details script to the side. And the reason for that is that my JavaScript virtual machine has not yet loaded that. And I cannot see it inside the Chrome sources. So upon navigation, it showed to the side. And that could be a problem at times, because you need to break while navigating inside a screen. And you can't place a breakpoint anywhere inside the UI, just like that, when you don't have the sources in front of you in Chrome DevTools. So in order to address that, you could place a debugger statement inside the constructor. In case you didn't know, debugger statement like this one, and I'm just gonna save the file. Can you see that? Yeah. Is it big enough? Okay, thank you. So this debugger statement will essentially instruct the inspector to break the code right where I placed it. So it's like a manual breakpoint that you don't need to click in the gutter to set. I'm reconnecting my application, navigating again to the view, and I paused in another view, and I could continue execution by pressing F8 or clicking the play button, and I can do that all day long, because I'm not sure when the entries in this for each loop will end. So I can disable debugger statements just as easily by right-clicking in the gutter and instructing the inspector to never pause here. I believe that's the last item of the drop-down menu. And clicking that, I can see that, oh, I have to continue execution, that's right. Okay, and the speakers list is up, but I would like to inspect the sessions list instead. And I've broken inside the session details view model, and all thanks to the debugger, I don't have any breakpoints set inside the gutter. And let's see what's wrong with the view. There's nothing showing up, and this bothers me at the moment because I took my time to implement the view, and I don't see anything. So I would like to, I've made an HTTP request to my backend, and I was hoping for the right result so that I can interpolate the data into an XML and get a beautiful view, but instead I got nothing. So I could repeat the request that I just made. So I'm opening the application, opening another session, and I'm back to where I started debugging. So I'm going down to my next breakpoint, and then to the next breakpoint, which should be the response of my network request. Okay, now that I've successfully gotten to this part, I can see that my response is a JavaScript object with a single session property, which has another string. But why am I looking at a string? I was hoping that I would get another JavaScript object. And unlike what TJ showed you today, it is not always so, the world isn't always so pink in the sense that you don't always have access to your backend. So there might be times when you get your result in this mangled state where your result that you were hoping you would get is instead a string and not an object. So I could easily address that by converting the response to a JavaScript object, and I'm going to do that by JSON parsing the result. And again, as I mentioned earlier, just saving the changes like this inside TypeScript will not work. So I'm going to hop real quick back to my text editor, delete the debugger statement because I don't need it anymore, like that, and fix the JSON result. I'm going to paste that, and JSON result is a constant, so I'm going to change it real quick to a mutable value, saving the changes. Okay, and any moment now, should everything go according to plan, I should be able to see my session details. Okay, here I think you can see the app now. Okay, fantastic. See the sessions, opening one, open this session, and I've got a breakpoint. I don't need it anymore. I could now deactivate all breakpoints and continue execution. Continue execution, like that. Unexpected token O. So I've made a mistake by parsing the result, obviously, and I would like to, in that case, break inside my code again. I navigate it to the page. Try to place it right over here so you can see clearly. Again, activate the breakpoints. Navigate again. That's right. Okay. And I'm back to the response parsing. And I see that, unfortunately, I was trying to parse a JSON object and not a string, so I could go back to my code, and instead of JSON response parsing res, I need to parse session. That's right, saving my changes again. Just a moment. I reconnect the Chrome DevTools. Why am I reading a README? Okay, app CSS, not interested. Image, not interested. Let's see the application then. If we're fortunate, we should see the session detail and be able to move on to the Twitter feed. Okay, I've broken again. I can continue execution by pressing F8. We can see the changes, and again, it was thanks to Chrome DevTools that mirroring ended. That's not Chrome DevTools that caused that. I'm gonna plug it back in, hope for the best, and this is why live demo sucks. Okay, I think we're gonna be back online. Yes, fantastic. So we addressed the session details. What am I doing with it? Can I minimize it? Okay, that's fair enough for the moment. So we addressed this screen, the session details. We also managed to fix the home view, but now I'd like to see how I can take all the Twitter data that I can find on the internet and instead place that instead of my mock data that I have. Usually when developing applications, okay, debugger's running. When developing applications, I like to work with mock data first and write my UI so that I can replace that with data that I get off another remote service. Like that. So we've got a couple of tweets, but they're mocked. And I'm going to show you the code in a moment. I might have to restart the debugger. That's a slight suspicion that I have. Okay. Is it up yet? Is it up yet? Is it up yet? It's up. Okay, great. navigating again to the Twitter feed, going back to Chrome DevTools, and it's up. And instead of navigating through the file tree, again down the tree, I could instead use a shortcut. Just as the Chrome DevTools are hinting at me, I could use Control P or Command P on Mac to open a file. And I know that my Twitter view is called Tweets View Model, so I'm going to open that right now and see how we can make the HTTP request and parse the results. I've opened the wrong file. I'm interested in opening the view model, like that. I could scroll down. Okay, I can move you to the side for the time being. And again, upon navigating to the Twitter page, I make an HTTP request. I add the mock tweets first by using a for each on an array that I predefined earlier. And then I proceed to doing nothing at the moment with my request, with my response that I've gotten as a result of my request, because I don't know what the response contains. So there are several ways to approach this. I could, again, place breakpoints inside my code. So if I navigate again to the Twitter feed, and I've got a debugger statement here, I can stop here and inspect the result, navigate down its properties, and yes, that will work. I could also open the console where I can evaluate almost any kind of statements, like this. I know that I've broken inside the response scope, and I cannot see my sources at the moment, so I would like to open the console in a drawer. And what you're seeing right now is the command palette of Chrome DevTools, which I opened by typing Control-Shift-MP, or you can also do that by pressing Command-Shift-P on Macs, which nearly any large text editor has as a feature, which allows you to open all sorts of windows inside your text editor. And I would like to show the console underneath my code instead of in a separate panel. And since I've broken inside the tweets feed, I've got access to all the variables in here, and I can evaluate statements, JavaScript statements inside the code here. I could look inside the content, but the content is something that the NativeScript framework returns, so I need to get it to JSON, I suppose. And that will give me the supposed result that I've gotten from the remote service. But that's a bit tedious to go through all the properties in here. But I know that I've made a network request using the request API of NativeScript. So I could open the network panel instead and see all the network requests that I've made. All the entries you can see at the center of the screen are actually network requests made from the phone. And I could preview all sorts of data here. I can see the query parameters that I've made the request with. I could also preview the request headers. But the thing that I'm most interested in right now is the response preview. I could either check it out inside response, which returns a JSON, or inside the preview tab of the network panel. And the response has got search metadata property and statuses, but search metadata does not seem like something that I would like to mess with or display. So instead, I think statuses is the thing that is going to help me display all the Twitter details inside my app. And I've got a couple of entries here, 15 to be more precise. And if I open either of them, I could start inspecting each one's properties. And the reason that this is important to me right now is because by having this information, I could finally interpolate all the data inside my XML. And if I return to my source code, I'll be able to see just exactly what I need. I'm interested in getting the created at, text, username, screen name, and profile image URL properties. So I'll go back to the network tab, look through the response statuses object and just pick a random one. Looking through it, I can see that it's already got the created out property of the response object, which is fantastic. And it's also got the text. Fortunately, the Twitter folks are considerate enough to return a user object, which if I look through, I'll be able to find just the properties that I was looking for, like the profile image URL, as well as the screen name, I suppose. That's right. And I could jump back inside the code that I have. And in the response callback, I'll just populate the observable array that I have with the response objects that I just got from the network request. If I just copy this, which is populating the page with my mock data, to paste that, and I'm going to actually iterate through all the response objects that I got, doing response content to JSON. And I'm interested in statuses, as we already established that, because the response object's got two properties. Move that to the side again. It's got statuses and search metadata. So jumping back to my code, I will iterate through the statuses like this, and I'm going to push each status as a new entry inside my observable array. Like, okay, we're almost there. Hold tight. Move that to the left. Okay, that's made enough space. I could of course navigate again to polls to allow for easier inspection of the properties. That's the right screen. Okay. I'll just scroll to the right to be able to complete adding my tweets. And I've got a tweet class. It's a simple plain old JavaScript object which just holds properties. And I'd like to add statuses. No, for each status, I would like to. Okay, that's the right way. I would like to get the created at property. I would also like to get nearly there. Status, I would also like to get the text, status username. Also, I need to get the, what was it again? Of each status, we've got the user, and each user has, well, they do have a name. They've also got profile image URL, and they've got the screen name. So it's not username, it's username. It's also status, user, profile picture, profile image URL, and the status user screen name. If I did everything correctly, let's have a final look at my class. Oh, it takes the profile image URL as the last parameter, so I'm going to swap them real quick. Go away, jeez. Okay. Going to just move this right over here before the profile image URL. Okay. What's that? Oh my god. I messed up. Okay. And okay, almost got it. Did I? So I'm going to instead copy the line because it's not really comfortable editing in Chrome DevTools and it won't work anyway. So I'll open the tweets view model, go to the response, paste what I just typed in inside the Chrome DevTools. Yes, I'm almost done. Thank you. Tweets, I iterate through each, and I'm going to just say that the tweet has also got a status name, the user status name. I keep making screenshots. Screen name. Okay, and if I just save that, I can finally bring up the empty device screen like this. Oh my, what's that? Oh, it's paused, that's right. And I've got a syntactic error. Let's address that real quick. Go away, Jesus. New tweet, created out. We've also got the text, the name, the status user. Oh, there it is. Yes, so we've got a comma at the end or extra brackets. Is that it? I think that's it. Do we get it? File change detected. Any moment now, the moment of truth. A bracket is expected. Of course it is. Did I get it right this time? No? What's going on?
Go on the next line.
Huh?
Go on the next line. Next.
Okay.
Next line. You see your alert misses something.
Oh yeah. I think that's. Oh yeah, you're actually right. Something's. I don't know what's wrong. I'm just going to fix that real quick. Okay. Am I long overdue now? Okay. Well, I'm just going to wrap it up real quick. Apologies. Okay. Thank you. So, Jesus. It can smell that I'm so stressed out. But we're getting there, I promise you. To JSON. And I know that we get status. We actually get statuses. And we've reached them. I'm going to take my time here and we're gonna do it great. And it's gonna look great. We got the tweets view model. Just bear with me, I'm almost there. And we've got the NS tweets array, which we're going to push to a new tweet, which has got a status created at, and it's also got a status. What did it have? A text, that's right. And a user. And if I had seen Daniel's talk about ES6 and TypeScript features, I probably could have typed that in a better way, but yeah, well, maybe next time. But for those of you, I keep making screenshots. For those of you who saw Daniel Zen's talk, I suppose you can leverage a lot of ES6's features now. URL. Is that it? No, that's not it. Huh? Screen. Oh yeah, thank you so much. User screen name. Yes, we actually got it. Oh, did we? I think we did. Expected a bracket. Demo gods, be with me for the last time. Yes, compilation.
He's gonna
complete.
cry.
I'm not. But this is, oh my God. Let's see what happened. Okay, opening the tweet. And we got it. We've got all the tweets. Okay, and as a homework for those of you who would like to explore more of what Chrome DevTools has to offer for NativeScript, you could open the Elements tab and just browse through all the views. But you know Todd already stole my thunder on that one. So, but yeah, you could totally go through the Elements tab yourself. And, okay. You could find all kinds of useful resources on our documentation page. You could find the keyboard shortcuts reference on Google's developer reference. If you would like to get the sources of the demo app, you could find it in my GitHub. Or if you'd like to get the slide deck, it's at that QR code that you totally don't have time to scan. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. That was pretty good. So yeah, you could